allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Council President Hall.
Here.
Vice President Nixon.
Here.
Pro Tem Dees.
Here.
Mr. Henry Nowon.
Here.
Mr. Lewis.
Here.
Mr. Thomas Nowon. And Mr. Nico.
We have a comment. Approval of January checks 14672 through 14725 from the general fund, and checks 1938 through 1939 of the sewer fund. Another motion?
I'll make a motion.
A second? Second. Discussion. I have a few things just to explain them. Check 14692 is the workman's compensation fund for volunteer fire company and the borough office. That's a quarterly.
No, we pay like a quarter of the amount in January, and then we do like 5 or 6 additional monthly payments, so it's paid in full.
I'm actually looking into the state funded program that they have. More information next month on that. Check 14694 was from College Truck Parts. Before the snowstorm, we had a tire for the older truck, 2306. That was a flat tire, and the rim was bent, and then another rim got bent. So we borrowed a rim and a tire from Wilson Borough until we could buy 2 new rims for that truck. That's what that's for. Any other questions? Do I have a vote on that? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Unpaid bills. We have T&M Associates, who was our engineer. They sent us bills on 2015 December and one for last month. Plus, we also got some bills from 2013. And there was a question on the grant writer that they sent us for the casino grants last year. And that's still in our solicitor's hands. And this B, Assad, I think we can cover that a little later about the computers. And Zuzian Associates, I think, Dave, you didn't get a chance to write out a check.
No, I didn't
We
yet, no.
came in later in the month.
Yeah.
So we'll do that. And Beam Construction Company, they hauled away our snow. That came to $13,100 or something like that. Do you want to approve C and D? Or we can just let that go until next month, but with the Beam, we'll automatically write out a check for our solicitor. But Beam Construction, we should have a motion to pay them. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion to pay that bill.
Second?
Second.
Any further questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor? Pass it, right. Approval of receipts and deposits. Do I have a motion? Everyone should have a copy of that, hopefully. motion for the receipts and deposits?
I'll make a motion.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion on the receipts and deposits? All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Approval of minutes from January 4th, January 11th, and January 25th. I know it's a little complicated because we had 3 meetings in January. We had a lot going on in the office. If you need a little extra time to go through, if you want to naturally take one at a time,
Yeah, starting with the first one.
yes, January 4th. Do I have a motion for January 4th minutes?
I have a question.
On,
For the 4th minutes.
yeah, wait, I have to get a motion. Do I have a motion for January 4th?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Discussion.
In the appointment of the solicitor, there's no mention of the other 2 firms that were presented resumes of their business, and there was no mention of having David make copies for council prior to the vote.
Dave, take the note to correct the minutes to add the 2 other applicants we have for solicitor.
Do you have them? Because I was making copies, I didn't. Do we still have them? Okay,
Yes,
then I'll-
it was mentioned at the
Okay.
January 4th meeting also.
But it wasn't, it's not part of the minutes, and it should be.
Okay.
One was Kingsbury
And,
and the other one was Elliott
yeah.
Thomas.
And
Any other question?
yeah, the mention of the minutes being made by, he was given an order to make the minutes prior to the vote of council.
Any other questions?
Yes. Page 2, somewhere in there should be that this was during the, looking for the information on computers and the whole computer, old missing computers, that conversation. It should be mentioned that in the minutes that I asked twice if anyone knew what happened to the old computers and hard drives. Dan, you asked once if we knew who took them out. And I want it noted in the minutes that nobody on council answered that, any of those questions.
You have that, Dave? Any other questions? The motion would be to approve these minutes with corrections. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. January 11th. Do I have a motion to pass January 11th minutes?
I'll start out with that motion.
Second. Second?
I'll second.
Mr. Lewis, second. Discussion. You can see that these are pretty thorough minutes. All in favor? All in favor of January 11th minutes?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Now January 25th. Do I have a motion for January 25th this year?
Yeah, I'll start out with that motion.
I'll second.
Discussion. I know it's a lot to do at one meeting. Hopefully, when we get things straightened out, we won't have all this at one time. All in favor of January 25th? Say aye.
Aye.
January 2016. Do I have a motion to approve treasurer's report?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion.
Any more of my comments and discussion there?
Yes.
Yeah, I have a couple of things I'd like to bring up. You received the report probably today, so if you haven't had a chance to look at it, I put my name on it, my phone number on it, so please feel free to call me anytime at all if you have any questions or the details of it. I'd be more than happy to entertain questions. On the back, on the second page, I listed 4 items that I think council should participate in. Things that I found as I reviewed information during the course of the past month. And I'd like to take those items one at a time and you can read them. And then if you want to discuss them, I don't know if you want to make motions, I don't know how you want to do it. But, we can start with item number 1. What it is, we have 2 accounts at the Lafayette Bank. Both accounts are labeled sewer fund. I don't think there's any need for 2 accounts at the bank for the sewer fund. The one account has a majority of the money, like 98%, and the other account has like $3,000. I'm not sure why it exists. I don't think no one that I talked to in the office knows why it's there either. My suggestion is to eliminate the account with the roughly $3,000 in it and merge it into the bigger account. I think it's a simple thing to do. I just wanted your approval to do that. Unless somebody knows why it's there, I don't know why it's there. Nobody else knows why it's there.
Would you like to ask a question?
Discussion. Go ahead.
Is it possible one of them are interest bearing and one's not?
No, no, they both are collecting 0.1%.
Same amount, there's,
Same amount, nice no difference. Actually, one might be a money market, and we'll just go over a second. I'll tell you.
That has nothing to do with the CD funds.
As far as I know, nothing.
What the bank had to say about that?
They just have the accounts because we requested it. And they don't care. I mean, the bank gets, a small amount of money for every account we have there, so that they don't care. They don't know.
That was my question. We would be charged an analyzing fee for every account.
Every month, you're gonna get a small fee to refer that account forward, sure. Not much, but it's there.
Were these open about the same time, or was there a big time difference?
I don't know when it was open, I failed to ask them, but I got a feeling it was like 4 or 5 years ago or more, I don't know. It's been sitting there for just.
Just doing that,
Just doing nothing. So with your approval, I just let the bank know to close the one account out and merge into the other one, and that will do it.
Do I have a motion for Carl's request to merge the 2 accounts?
I'll make a motion to merge the 2 accounts.
Second?
I'll second it.
Any more discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Okay, second item is a safety deposit box. We have a safety deposit box at the Lafayette Bank. No one that I talked to knows what's in it. The bank doesn't know what's in it. The key is, we haven't been able to find the key in the office anywhere. Joe looked for it, Dave looked for it, I looked for it. Unless someone knows where this key for the safety deposit would be, the box sits there, we get a charge every year of $40. And it'll continue that way as long as we keep us there. Unfortunately, if we want to have it drilled out, open it up, find out what's in it, the charge is $200. So it's a matter of continuing the way we are, or paying $200 to bite the bullet and find out if there's anything in there or not.
Before we do that, because I don't use a safety deposit box, is it possible to find who the last signer was?
Pardon?
Is it possible to find who the last one to sign in to the box is?
I don't know.
Somebody had to fill out a card
We could ask.
to take the box out.
Yeah, generally, the way it works with a safety deposit box is there's the sign in, and you can't access the safety deposit box unless you sign in. The bank keeps that record. So generally, we can go to the bank and ask for that information. So certainly, if that's what you want to do before making a decision, you could do that. That being said, I've had the situation where you have to drill the safety deposit box, and Carl's absolutely right, that, you know, you can't use your guy, you can't do what everybody thinks you should be able to do, is do it yourself. You have to use one of their people, that costs a couple $100 to do it. So he's absolutely right that that's the process. But before you make a decision, if you want to see who signed in last,
Because maybe that person has the key.
that would make sense.
What's the monthly fee?
Not monthly, it's yearly. It's a $40 yearly fee.
So before we have to pay that next fee?
I don't know if they took it out yet or not, I'm not sure. Probably
When is it due?
July, Dave said July.
Like June or July. And is it cheaper if we get out of it sooner?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we have until July then to figure out what's going on.
Well, I always thought when you took out a safety deposit, you had to be, they would know who signed to open up that safety deposit box. I don't mean open it up, I mean to purchase the safety deposit box for use. They must have a record,
We can ask them, that's,
Yeah.
You know, all that
Well,
initiative.
and
We'll investigate until June.
and then the last person who signed in to look in it would be another one.
that's fine. That's possible. So that's, that action can be taken.
Do we need a motion for that action?
No.
The next item, we have a fund called, right now it's called depreciation fund, and it's really an old term, and it really should be operating reserve fund, it's just a name change. And the operating reserve fund is more in concert with the state chart of accounts for, boroughs. I'd like to just make a recommendation to council to change the name from depreciation to operating reserve. It's a simple matter of letting the bank know what the name change is, they do it for nothing.
And why would we use that account then? What purpose would we use that for?
What is that account for?
Yeah, just for daily?
The council apparently set up this fund some time ago. If I remember correctly, it was for maybe emergencies, maybe the building needed a new roof, maybe we needed a new truck, or whatever emergency could crop up. Snow cost, who knows? But it was a savings. It's just amount of money set aside for, they call it operating reserve in the state chart of accounts.
There was a time when we set that account up, and we put in a couple $1,000s a year as a budget item, we fund it. It was for buying new equipment, trucks, repairs. Carl's pretty much on. He was very well aware of what it was for when he was on council, and that money's there for that reason. You can meld that into any other area you want to, but that's exactly what it's for. So if you have a need for a new furnace, you can take the money out of that for the furnace. If you need to fix the cracks in the building, you can take the money out of there to pay for the cracks in the building. So it was an emergency fund to cover anything that might happen over and above what we had budgeted.
I have a motion to change the name of that fund to operating.
I'll make a motion to that effect.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion on that? All in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it.
Okay, the last item for your consideration, if you look at the report, you're going to find that there's quite a bit of money that we have in our general fund. And it's drawing 0.1% interest. If you want to consider putting some of that money into CDs, you can improve that situation a little bit. I think it's something the council could consider, maybe the committee might want to have a look at it and see how much and how many years of a CD investment they might want to make. Just a lot of money there, but 0.1% interest. You're losing money literally because the average inflation rate a year is 1.6%, and the bank charges you, fees for handling these accounts, maybe start adding, subtracting all the fees, and you're losing money on it, actually.
What's the length of time that a CD would be taken out for?
You can take it out for, hold on, I have it written down here somewhere. I just don't know where I have it. Hold on. I'm so organized, I'm disorganized with this, No, I have, I to advise council that they were, I can't put my fingers on it right this second.
Do you know out the length of the CD?
They go from 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, down to, I think you remember saying like 8 years. And the percent increases, you know, from 0.1, 0.35, 0.5, I think it got up to like almost like 0.8%. It's not a lot, but it's better than 0.1%.
Did you ever check to see the length of the CDs in the sewer account?
Right now, yeah, matter of fact, you should have that information. If you look on page 2 of the report, we have currently 2 CDs in the sewer fund, and one is drawing 0.1%, and the other one is drawing 0.35%. The footnotes on page 2.
I see it. Wow.
Oh, here, I found it. If you want to know, here's the rates that verbally she gave me at the bank. 1 year is 0.1%, 2 years is 0.35, which is what we have in our sewer already. 3 years is 0.45, 4 years is 0.75, 5 years is 0.85. So it's something I think council should consider, and say, I think we want to discuss it, we want to talk about it, maybe in a committee meeting, it would be a good idea to maybe take some of that money and put it in better paying CDs.
Is there a penalty for pulling it out early?
Oh, there always is. There always is. That's what I'm saying, you have to evaluate how much you want to put in there. You sure they won't put all in there, that's foolish.
Decide how much.
So you have to decide how much and for what span of time, and maybe even break it down into 1 CD for 2 years, maybe another CD for 4 years, I don't know how you want to do it.
Tying that much money up for that amount of percentage is scary.
And if you were gonna do it, what a lot of municipalities do is do exactly what Carl said, is stagger it. So you always have some money available every 6 months or a year in case you do need it, if you choose to go down that road. You wouldn't put it all in a 4-year CD. You'd put some in 6 months, some in a year, some in 18 months, and so on, so you have it available if and when you needed it, if that's what you wanted to do.
Yeah, when times were better and the interest rates were higher, we had CDs. But now this was just like, throwing money away.
Yeah, we have to figure out how we stand with our roads and everything.
Well, it'll offset the fees in the bank,
Yeah, that's fine.
basically, let's do that.
Yeah, go ahead, Pete.
Is that with Lafayette?
Yes.
You might want to check with Santander, because I was up there last week and the rates are better than that. Santander.
Yeah, we have to check on several different things. Is that your end of the report, Paul?
I just want to mention one more thing. If you go to page 1 of the treasurer's report, I want to just to emphasize that I have shown there 4 funds, and the labeled general, sewer, operating reserve, and highway. And the footnotes there pretty much describe what is in each fund. In other words, the general fund consists of the general account, the real estate account, the activities account, and the petty cash money. So there's 4 things that are in that general fund, just so you know. That's what that note means. And then if you go to the sewer fund, there's actually 4 items in that fund. You have the 2 sewer funds, which you just talked about, we're going to eliminate 1. Then you got the 2 CDs, they are in that fund. I just wanted to point that out to you so you know everything is combined into 4 funds. Hopefully it's easy to understand, and hopefully the footnotes help you know what's in those. If you wanted more detail, you have to ask for it. That's about it, unless you have any questions for me, that would be all I have as far as the treasurer's report is concerned.
Anybody have further questions for the treasurer?
Good report.
All in favor of treasurer's report? Opposed? Ayes have it. We were supposed to have a guest tonight from Easy Micro, and I don't see that he's here. Dave, you want to give a little, you know a little bit about his visit here because he was into the computers?
Well, this is somebody that was a little bit higher up than the gentleman that was here and inspected our computer software, computers that we had in the office. Basically, their assessment to us when they were here 2 weeks ago was we need to start from scratch and start over. Since that time, we've gotten one computer back from the state police. We now have access to the other server, and we have our financial software back also. So I have 5 weeks worth of entering to do to get the old system back to current, and we need to progress with getting the necessary computers in the office so we can convert to the new software.
All right, we can get into that under your office report later. Public comment, anybody have, want to make a comment to council? Not seeing any, mayor's report.
Okay, Mr. Solicitor, I'd like you to get write an opinion on Borough Code 117 on the exclusion from executive session at the last meeting. I want an opinion. I got an opinion from the Mayor's Association, but I want an opinion from the Borough Council so I can feel comfortable with what it is. That's my own comment to that.
Was that directed to the solicitor?
Yes, I saw Mr. Solicitor.
Can you provide me with a copy of what you received?
I didn't get it yet. Everybody sent me a copy.
When you do?
But it's Borough Code section that you can analyze is 117A3. There was some talk at one of the meetings. I've been making notes as we went along. The treatment center, West Easton, county codification number, if you're interested in that. Also, this is for the solicitor, is 12545, because there was some question about the financing of and the monies and how it was fiscal year or what it was, and you might be able to get information like that. And I'm sure in our file, at the last meeting, there was some talk about the ordinance system. I visited the Borough Hall the day after the meeting, and I showed our president exactly where they're located. They're well labeled. Also, David knows how to pull them up. Molly and Kelly listed, I think back to 202, all the ordinances back to them. If it has to be finished, then I think it's an office staff job and not a solicitor's job to do that, because it becomes pretty expensive for a solicitor, for you to analyze everything we have. If we get into analyzation, yes, you would have to be a part of that. But David, you know how to pull up.
Yeah, you've been doing that.
He does know, and at the meeting, nobody seemed to know anything about it. And quite frankly, it was like throwing the last 100 years of government under the bus. There was always ordinances here. They were always well kept in the files. And I started taking offense to it, and I'm sure Carl did too, because he was a big one for promoting codification and all that kind of stuff. I looked at the codification book and looked up information on that. Bill Compolino, who was the president of the council at that time, was the scribe for that codification. What he did with that book, I don't know.
Jerry, I can respond to that. I talked to Bill Campanello, and he turned it over to Louis Nico, who was the following president.
Okay, it has to be around here somewhere. That part there has to be around here, because I followed it as far as I could, trying to get a history on it. And I have a copy, I think it's marked up, but I don't know if it's marked up as well as described as. And it was, when he left, Bill, it was 3/4 done. We only had, I looked at my copy and I showed it only, I would say maybe 20 pages that had to be done.
Every chapter was done except for the
The last one.
the zoning.
Yeah.
The zoning was not done.
Yeah.
And what year was that up to?
I have to look at, see the date that, I wasn't looking at that.
Well, the question would be, it's an important question, because if it was 75% done from the year 2000, say 2000, then that would be 16 years that nothing has been done. If it was up to 2012 or 2013, it would be 2 years. I heard a number of 2006 at one point.
Right.
Is that right?
I'm not sure, I have to look.
Because
Because 2006, 2007.
I have to look at the cover on it, give you an accurate number, I don't like to give a number that isn't accurate.
Because the position for council is if the last time it was updated was 2006, and it was 75% done, that's 10 years worth of nothing. That's the problem.
Yeah, that is the problem. But there is a complete file of ordinances out there, and if you want me to show you after the meeting, I'll show you. There's also a complete file of all minutes out there. And they're all well labeled, and I don't see any problem with that. The big problem is codification. All right, the next thing on the agenda is I would like to find out where we stand on Laurel Hill development. I've been a proponent of that from the day one, and Mr. Rossi can tell you that. We've had many conversations on it over the years. It's been hanging around here for a long time. I've been disappointed once when Ashley came here to do some work. And I'd like to see something done with the Laurel Hill development. I know there's a conflict with your situation being his lawyer, and I would recommend that if you do represent him, then we have to go outside and get an independent source. And either that or bring in Pete Lehman, who was a part of that in the beginning. And just so there's two sides to every story, because I don't know how Christie would respond to that. What her input is. She was, according to some of the correspondence I've been reading, she was involved, and there was a lot of requests from you to her, and there was other writings back, and also some comments from T&M to Christie. And I think that has to be settled one of these days, one way or the other. I don't want to see Mr. Rossi have to redo the wheel, but I do want to see it that it's done right. And again, it was a good project. It's a nice location, and I think we should start thinking about how we're going to handle that. Mr. Solicitor, I'd like you to at least draw up a plan of some sort how we can attack it with outside help or whatever way is. I'm not legal, so I don't even know where to start with that. But I think we have to do something with it. It's too long, and I spent a lot of time with Pete in conversations over the years. And it always came down to a couple of subjects, and I'm not going to allude to them now because I don't want to muddy the water. And not with me, but with the how being handled with the engineering company and the solicitor. And they were orchestrating what had to be done before it was done. And that sounds like a Yogi Berra thing, but it's not over until it's over. Well, this thing's going to go on forever if we don't do something about it. And if Mr. Rossi wants to get his development going, something has to be done by this council.
And what I propose is I'll report back to council.
So if anything, they can clear the Also, I just did throw up to the fact that there's a file out there, and Dave knows, and he admitted that he knows how to do it. So I don't think that's as big a problem as it could be. And as much as we have in there, if we want to for our own internal use, to get the rest of it on computer, would it be worth it? Some of those old ordinances and stuff that are still there? I don't know. But maybe it would be something to look at and see which ones you want to bring up. And I think that's something you have to look at and get that straightened around. And if we can ever see what we can do with this codification information, maybe that will help also. I met, well, firstly, I talked with Mayor Caruso. Mayor Caruso called me back after the last council meeting, I believe it was, and they're in discussions of possibilities of police in Wilson Borough of some sort, service in the borough. Now, if that happens, and this council, by law, the state police will not cover us anymore. Even if it's only a minor situation, if Wilson opts to just take care of patrolling like they did originally when we set them up, that would probably, the state police will probably pull the plug.
And that's if we contract with Wilson. That's if we would contract with Wilson.
Well, yes, and any form of police other than the state could muddy the water. I got that directly from one of the people at Belfast. So, council's going to have to tell me how far you want me to go with this police situation. I have your ear now, and how far you want to go. I asked a month or so ago the same question, and I'd like to know, and I'll foster whatever I can foster, and then leave it up to council to see how far they want to go beyond me getting something running. And I would say have a goal of sometime in 2017 to see what you want to do.
But wouldn't this be best discussed with a committee? With a committee first?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. It would be, once I can make a connection, it's in talking stage between council and the mayor right now.
I can add to that. Bob Lewis and I attended that MECAP meeting in Hellertown, and just to make it short, we would have to set up a meeting.
Yep. So, they're not ready to meet yet.
That's what he said.
Yeah, they're not ready to meet yet. They called me last week, I believe, and he told me that they're still talking about it. There's still some hard feelings up there. There's still hard feelings up there about what happened in the past. So, but I'll keep you informed, and when the time comes to let you guys involved, I will tell you, and I will exit, and my council, the council will take care of it. That's all for my report tonight. Thank you.
Any questions for the mayor? Engineer's report, we don't have one tonight. Solicitor's report.
Yes, going through the order that's in the agenda. At the last meeting, I was asked to inquire about payments made for the emergency management coordinator. There's been an indication that there was a check made payable to Kelly Gross, the amount of $1,500, net pay of $1,324.18. Check number 14640 with a handwritten notation, acting emergency management or manager. As council may or may not remember or know, to become an emergency management coordinator, there are certain requirements. One of them being that you have to be appointed by the governor upon recommendation by the local governing body. Nobody other than the governor can appoint someone to that position. Then you have to attend seminars and workshops, which are in-service training. And then you have to continue your emergency service education. And they're all set forth in a statute, 35 PSA, section 7502. It's the law. There's no indication that Ms. Gross did any of those things. In fact, at the last meeting, there was an indication that she was not the emergency management coordinator. In fact, another individual had always been and was never replaced. That's what we have right now.
Only a portion of that was $450 though, out of that check that you just, the portion of
the
the
actual check for the EMC.
that was only a portion, but the other was council training.
Right. I'm sorry for not indicating that. Yes.
450 was a part of that total.
Part of that entire check, yes.
And there was another issue.
Okay. Is he finished with his report or?
No, I'm just going down the section. That was A of the list.
Wait till you're done with all of them.
That's my question. Is it council's preference to wait until I'm done with all of them before you make any decisions, or however you'd like to handle it? If you want to make motions, you can do it.
Do you want to take A at a time? Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I'd like to take each at one time.
All right, go ahead.
Well, that was the reason I brought it up at that council meeting was for the reasons the solicitor brought up, was I didn't think Kelly was the emergency management coordinator. If anyone else has discussion, because I'd like to make a motion when everyone's done.
Well, the thing is, okay, we found out that maybe she wasn't, maybe she was, we don't know.
We do know.
We do know that she's not. Now, what do we want to do?
Well, that's what I'm asking you, if everyone's done discussing it. I'll make a motion.
What would that
Can I make a
be?
motion?
Do you have a motion?
I make a motion authorizing the solicitor to forward correspondence and to take all necessary steps to recover the amount of borough funds spent when, to recover the amount that Kelly Rose received as emergency management coordinator when she was not emergency management coordinator.
That would be the total of $450.
Whatever that check is written out for.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Any more discussion on that point?
Yeah, I just want to bring it up. It'd be cost effective to do this. How many hours?
If you're asking me from a letter standpoint, if the question's directed to me at this point, a letter standpoint is,
And that's all it is going to be a letter.
I believe that's the
Yeah, I
initial
know.
motion for now.
Sure.
She pays that back, and if she doesn't, then we can make another motion to include attorney's fee.
Letter's fine.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Next, B on the list is I was asked to inquire with regard to the mailing in December that Ms. Gross sent, and what the cost would be and the effect of it all. And there was some information received, which is actually in your packet, as to the mailing, the actual postage, I believe came out to approximately $204. Then there was a separate cost of the actual use of the equipment, the paper, and so on and so forth. So that is the amount that the borough would be out. What that total amount is, I don't have in front of me, but the postage itself was $200, and then there's the additional ancillary, the additional costs that go along with it. And just so to refresh council's recollection, we're talking about the mailing that went out in December. We're all familiar with what it said.
Well, the most important question was, is that a newsletter? Was that a letter that was proper? That's the question.
And we could decide.
We asked you to look into, did you consider it an actual newsletter, or was it a personal letter to the residents?
It did not appear to be a newsletter at all. It was not a newsletter in the consistent sense of, here's what's happening in the borough. It was, I'm leaving, and it was on the personal nature rather than some other nature.
Does the legal committee have a final total on?
Well, $0.7.
Yeah, the postage was,
The postage.
was 204, I think you said.
And
Our
then,
attorney said.
then the standard copy cost out of the borough is 25 cents a copy. So there's 3 copies in each letter. So it's 75 cents times 40 left added to the postage. And you don't have to worry about the paper and the time, because that's all included in the 25-cent charge we charge people. That 25 cents is supposed to cover the cost of the employee making a copy and all that stuff. So it's 25 cents times 3 for each mailing. 75 cents for each mailing.
So with the postage, it's about 520. Is it the solicitor's opinion that that money should be recovered?
It is.
A motion to recover that money.
I'll make that motion.
A second? Second to that motion?
Second.
Any more discussion on that?
Yeah, is this only gonna be in letter form this time? Or we're gonna go further?
Same thing, letter form.
Okay, fine.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Next, C on my report was to report back on the outstanding Mezzacapa litigation. I sent you a letter, which is in your packet, giving you an update as to what the status is. As I indicated at our last meeting, Ms. Mezzacapa signed the documents that I requested her to sign. We filed the appropriate documents ending the litigation, and I provided copies to her also. So on a good note, I have nothing to report.
So we're all done? Are we done?
As far as not receiving any information of inspections or any other matter, that was done or not done? And I think there's one litigation left, or none?
No,
There's none.
there's nothing else to say.
Okay.
Okay, so we're done. Great.
D, sure, you're welcome. D on my list, I was asked to look into the the truck lease rather, for the GMC Sierra. I had an opportunity to review the lease, and I sent you an opinion letter. The lease, which is typical, is one-sided on behalf of the company, and it indicates that the payments are what's known as absolute and unconditional, without subject to settle, which means you have to pay the money, despite any defects, malfunctions, breakdowns, and so on and so forth. There's certain indications that you have to use the vehicle for its intended purpose, which it sounds like West Easton was doing because it was sold to you for that purpose. But the bottom line was, I was asked, is there a way out of the lease? And under the terms of the lease, there does not appear to be a lot of wiggle room.
I have a question. There's such a thing as lender law, I think we all know that. Well, when we got the truck back, the first day we received it, Star Pontiac told us the body of that truck was not put on properly, and it had to be taken to Alpha, New Jersey. So we don't have the truck again. So we started to use the truck, we used it a half a day or a day, and we still don't have it back. So how long can this go on? If we get it back and have another problem, I think, you know.
I think 3 times you've been engaged in under law.
So I don't know how that would affect commercial.
Yeah, well,
I don't know what kind of.
Yeah, it sounded like.
Yeah, so that's the same question we're having.
The commercial rules are different, first of all. Second, if the indication of councils did not pay the bill, then you end up in a separate set of problems. That's what the lease is, and that's where we are right now. My understanding is they are taking it back, and please somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe they're taking it back at their cost to fix, right?
I was believed to indicate, yeah, that's,
Listen,
I think that's,
the problem you got, you paid 1/3 already for the truck. Because you gotta pay the $9,000 for the lease, and you already made 3 payments. So you can't break the lease without paying the whole full interest on it. So you're gonna give somebody a check for $9,000, and we're still back without a truck. But the problem, you got a truck, you gotta live with it. It can't be changed, you just can't use it for a big snowstorm. If you get another 20-inch snowstorm, you can't use that truck, it won't hold up. That's what the problem is. So you're stuck with it, You gotta learn to live with it, and whoever drives it, you gotta take care of it, because if we break it, we gotta fix it. And so we own it for $1. It's a lease. That's the problem we got. Our first attorney, or last attorney, should have told not to sign it. It wasn't a good lease in favor of counsel. So that lawyer dropped the ball.
Oh, I got a question, since you know the truck. Didn't you say that when they lift the truck to get salt to the spreader?
Let me explain how that happened. When they bought this truck, it didn't have a dump body on it. They stuck a 550 dump body on a smaller truck.
350.
Saying that, the ball on the back of that truck, for the hitch, is at that point, when you lift up and you have a spreader box on it, the spreader box hits that ball and it sends the spreader box. So that's what the problem is. Either going to remove the spreader bar, or they're going to try to do something different with the spreader. Our problem is, we damaged it, they're going to fix it, they're going to give the bill to the lease company, and the lease company's going to mail the bill back to us saying it's our problem to pay for it. Now, only thing I can tell you is whoever's going to drive it, that would be a truck for small storms. If they can't dump it, they should take the spreader box off. Because you're just going to ruin the spreader box.
Well, the other scenario is, we received a call from Star, Pontiac GMC, whatever they are, and told us to take it there. They found the problem, I think they should pay for it.
No.
Now, how did they know that? Because the Borough of Mendon has the same exact truck and they had the same exact body. And they bent the supports on it, plus the spread, plus the salt spreader. Everything was bent.
So, we had a good lesson that we have to inherit, but you're not going to do anything about it. Not that you want to eat $9,000. You could sell a truck maybe for $50. So you're still out 10 for what the purchase price is, and you're out to 9,000 for the loan. So that's $19,000. I figured out. You know?
Well, the only thing we can do now is see what happens when we get a call to pick up the truck, it's done, and if we ever receive a bill or not. Any questions about that?
Yeah, what, I was listening also. What's hitting the spreader box? You said the ball from the hitch?
Connection, you have the ball in the back, you hook up something, when they spring that down, it actually hits that.
Can we take it off at winter? We're not hauling things around in winter.
It's over there, they're gonna try to straighten it out. And the owner of the thing said to us, they just did landed. He said, it'd be better to put a new one over. He said, well, I know we'll have to straighten it out. But they'll probably take the ball. And at that point, we'll find out if we can dump. If you can't dump it with a spreader box on,
Yeah, I know what you mean.
then you gotta remove the spreader box. You know? Or you get one of those ones you stick in the back. That's kind of, you know.
Any other questions on the truck? Next,
The mayor had an inquiry about whether we needed an audit for the zoning officer, and the council asked that I look into it. The borough code does not have any requirement for an audit or an exit procedure when there's a change in personnel. So there's nothing that exists in the borough code with regard to that. There is, and this is entirely separate, there is under 1102 of the code that if there's an officer or an employee can be directed to render their accounts for settlement. For example, you have an accountant who's leaving, or you have a treasurer that's leaving. At the end of their term, they should make the final report saying, here's the money that I'm holding. But that's entirely separate than what was suggested last time.
Thank you.
Next, I'm sorry, if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. For F on the list, the report regarding T&M, that is the reference to the earlier unpaid bills. We can discuss that in executive session, as it may be potential litigation, unless council desires to discuss it now.
well, the only thing I want to say in public, we received the bills from 2013. And I'm not happy about it. Any other things you want to discuss?
part of the earlier part of the meeting, some of the computers have been recovered, some of the items that, or some of the data has been recovered, but it's not all complete. And we can discuss that further in executive session, or if council desires to do that now.
I think some of that's gonna be brought up in the office report.
And then H on the list is a report regarding the condemnation proceedings. And I was asked to provide a report, and that, since that's in litigation, that should be done in executive session.
Okay. Any questions for the solicitor? Office report. Dave?
Okay, as I said earlier, we are now back up and running with financial information. We have 5 weeks of information input. We're hoping to get borough bills for sewer and trash out by the end of this week, and everybody will have your 30 days. We're going to push back second and third quarter dates for the billing. Hopefully by fourth quarter, we're back by October 15th. I did mention earlier that we had paid for 3 computers in our office, an upgrade of the server. 1 computer we do not have, and there was no upgrade to the server. We've also discussed with the gentleman from Easy Micro about getting backup on our computers. There was no backup previously done on our computers on any regular basis. So, I mean, if we would have a catastrophic failure, we'd be completely gone.
Why weren't there backups?
That I can't give you the answer.
I can give you an answer, but it's probably not the.
Wait.
I mean, basically what we're doing right now is we have software through AMS. We're getting that brought back up to current status. Once we have the computers in place, we are going to convert to a new software, which is Cassell. I don't have a timeline on that as of yet. And the other thing that I have is that we're in the process of ordering a new borough seal because the current one could not be found.
Anybody have any questions for the borough office?
When's the last time you saw the borough seal?
Last fall sometime.
And we went through everything,
I haven't been able to find it, no.
I just want to say something. Before we go into executive session, I'll have another public opportunity for public to ask questions. Because we're not taking any action on anything, but I will give you an opportunity to ask questions again.
Did you have a cost on the borough seal? You said the order was placed, how much is it?
I think
He's such a kind man.
I don't, under $100. I don't know the exact.
I was worried.
I think Joe said around $85.
Okay, all right.
And there, with the new seal, there's been a few things that have been changed on it, so that if the old one ever does appear, or anybody does try using it or has it, then we'll know the difference between one seal and the other, so.
Good.
Yeah, this is it's disturbing, this third missing PC. Yeah, I mean, it's evident that we have 2 and we don't have the third one. I have a couple things under a report for myself. Workers' compensation involved the volunteer fire company. I think I mentioned this earlier, that I got a hold of someone that runs the state fund instead of through an insurance policy with the insurance company we have now. And hopefully we can save money there. Probably within the next week or so, I'll get more information on that. Mr. Lewis went to this boot camp that was scheduled for the 19th, but he had something that came up and went earlier. Do you have anything to report on? Anything on the boot camp?
I would say here for 2 days, just we did. Do you want to hear it all?
No, just maybe some important point.
The important points were, they stressed how important the training is, and then we went over things like the structure and the duties of the council and the staff in the office. Basically, everybody that's involved with this. We went over the code, and how new it is, and everybody should get up to date with it. So therefore, you should, hey, well, it used to be like this, well, it's not like that anymore. And we should all get up to speed. Okay, they discussed how to enact an ordinance. They discussed the roles of the council and the secretary. We went over the sunshine law and how important that is to stay transparent. They recommended to use Robert's rules for professional orderly meetings. What should be done at a meeting and what shouldn't be done, how minutes are handled, how agendas are set forth, how executive sessions are done. They went over the right to know law. And how, and who should handle that, and how they should handle it. We went over bidding procedures. They touched on the fire and police forces. And the chain of command, which is very important to stay focused on. That is, it starts with us. Actually, it starts with Dan, and then us. It goes toward the office. And then from the office, it goes down to whoever the manager or secretary, if she's doing the managerial work. And then it comes back to that person, and then back to council and president. So there's no one person from council who's going to be the boss of somebody in the office. It could be suggested what to do to a person who then appoints that work out as they see fit. We did budgeting and funds and taxing and how to do reports and audits and how they should look and how they should be presented. We went over planning and zoning, what those people do. We went over codes and how to do complaint forms and the system involved in the complaint form process. And then lastly, we went over emergency management, how important it is, what needs to be done, what needs to be followed, and what repercussions can come if we don't have that. And there's a program called NIMS, it's a National Incident Management System, that we are all required to do 2 sessions, get certified in 2 of those sessions, in order for us to comply with the emergency management system. This is a national incident that came about after the wildfires in California. They decided to get a program going, to get everybody on board, to talk the same language, to be on the same page. For instance, we are needed to be on the same page. And that'll be discussed. That's another separate program. And this is what you're going to learn when you go to boot camp.
Thank you.
Good job.
Louis and I went to the MECAP meeting in Hellertown. It was interesting because the information I'm talking about on workers' compensation was brought up by a councilperson from Stroudsburg. And he let me know that his population was 9,000 and they were paying a certain amount of money, and I thought to myself, if his population is 9,000 and we're paying almost as much as Stroudsburg is, then we're in the wrong insurance policy. That's why I'm looking into that. The federal snow declaration is PEMA. We got instructions from the county for a refund or rebate on the monies we spent in the snowstorm, which was a record for 1 day. We put in the restrictions were you had to choose the 48 hours that you thought you spent the most money. That was the restriction on the PEMA refund. So with being here, with snow removal and other factors, that's the 48 hours that we put in for and hopefully we get over $8,000 refunded. And all that information was sent to the county because tomorrow noon is the deadline, but we already have it in. So the office did a good job on that. The office watched a webinar, a two-part series, one on the 27th and one on the 3rd of this month. There was some good information on there that they picked up, so that was a plus. Next item was the potholes. We gave Mr. Nonaline $5,000 to fix potholes. And out of that money that he fixed the potholes, plus the fact that in the general fund, we have line item, and a budget for this year, line item 489, line item 1, for building repairs and building maintenance. Since he had the potholes filled for $2,200, he also had both bathrooms not ADA, because this building was built before ADA became into effect. ADA became in effect in 1992. This building was built in 1990. So we weren't affected by ADA. But because the water closets were so bad, and the faucets were leaking and disgusting looking, and the cracks along the floor were wide open, and the grip bars that are in both bathrooms were small and rusted, and they were also disgusting, that we replaced each item with an ADA item, which doesn't make us ADA because our walls might be structurally holding up this building. We would have to move walls out to be completely ADA, so we're not. So total amount that was spent was like $3,100, and we gave Mr. Nonaline $5,000, plus the fact we have $10,000 in building repairs. So that should be a plus for the building. And snow plowing, I think the guys that worked did a great job because of the amount of snow we got in a 24-hour period. And with both trucks breaking down after that, it's a wonder we were even able to do what we did. So, if anybody has any questions, they can ask me.
Yeah, I do. Mr. Lewis brought it up previously. Just a point of order here. When money is set aside, and Hank, I'm not trying to embarrass you, but if money's put aside for one item, you can't say, well, there's money left over, so we used it on the bathrooms.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying there's $10,000 in a building repair or building.
If you want to do bathrooms, like Mr. Lewis pointed out, then it comes before the council and says, you say the bathrooms need repair. There was nothing emergency in there that needed to be done that day. I'm just saying, if we call out other people for doing that kind of stuff previously, we have to follow those ourselves. No.
We'll make a list of everything that has to be done, and we'll bring it up at the next council meeting then. If anything has to be repaired and installed. I'd like to get a couple free estimates on our roof, or our slates on our roof. They're 25 years old.
We're talking about procedure here,
Yeah.
not what has to be done. Procedure, that's what we're talking about.
We're talking about procedure. If you want to get an estimate, doesn't cost anything to get an estimate, that's fine.
Yep. Yeah, we'll work on with procedure, naturally.
Yeah.
Hmm?
You done?
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah, to just touch on that again, and you did do things to the bathroom, and you yourself say that we're not compliant with the ADA, nor do we have to be. And I would like the solicitor's opinion on this. Since we did change things in that non-ADA compliant bathroom, and we tried to standardize it to that, are we not supposed to, according to ADA, upgrade it to their specifications?
I already looked into it, that's what I just reported.
I'm asking the solicitor.
We would have to tear down structural walls
But,
that
Dan, I
are low
didn't
bearing.
ask, Dan, I'm not asking you. I'm asking if the solicitor would look into it. And do we have to make a motion for the solicitor to do that? The mayor can ask him, can we ask him ourselves?
Well, just to make it clear, I work for the council, so when the mayor asks me to do this, he asks.
Right.
I'm not, it's not my boss, you're my boss.
Right.
So ultimately, the mayor is free to ask me whatever he would like, but whether I do it or not is up to you.
Right.
That being said, if a member of council wants me to look into what the ADA requirements are, I'm happy to do it. You just have to tell me, but if that's the request, that's my job.
I don't wanna open up that can of worms.
Do I have a motion to make that?
I'll tell you, I apologize to you. And I ran my business, I'm used to fixing stuff right away. So the point of it was, I got the plumber at $60 an hour. Normal plumber costs you $120. The guy gave you your fixtures for what he paid for. Never marked a dime on it. Besides, the plumber lived here his whole life, 60 years. So if you think we cheated somebody, I cheated myself and I cheated him. Listen, but I apologize that I didn't come to council to turn around and put it out for bid.
Yeah, it didn't have to go out 4.5,
You know?
Henry, don't get defensive. I think you got a great bargain, I really do. But it's just the procedure of bringing it in front of council first. No one's accusing you of stealing money or anything else. It was a damn good price you got. It really was.
And what may make life easier for all council is rather than spending lawyer dollars doing this,
Right.
we have code people now. And perhaps it's in their area of expertise where it'd be an easy answer for them. What might take me longer to obtain might be very easy for them to obtain.
Then I guess we have to go with, I believe we should ask the code guys.
And if you're unhappy with their response, you can always come back and ask me to look at it again.
We could have did anything, we would have what we have with household water closets. When I say water closet, I'm talking about toilets. I researched this. We don't have to comply to ADA because of the age of our building is before that. And it says in the literature I read from the federal government that we can replace items. And if you replace them with ADA things, that's all to the better.
So is this going to be a motion thing? Do I have to make a motion?
You want to make a motion? Go ahead.
To have the code inspector come and at least tell us if we had to abide by ADA since we changed it. And then get a report from him if we didn't, on the things that still are not up to code.
Do I have a second?
One. I didn't know that John would do all so much trouble.
Do I have a second? Motion fails because of a second. List of resolutions.
Hold on, I'm still on
Oh,
the thing. Now, the class the webinar that they sat into,
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
that was the gist of what you guys are supposed to be doing in the office. Now, in a couple months, at the end of May, sometime in May, there's a 2-day program that's the guts and glory of what you should do, and it's out in New York. There's another one out in Western Pennsylvania. We could be asked if one could be closer to us, but I don't think so, not in this situation. It's a 2-day thing for you and Joe to go. But actually, everybody, and this is the training bit. So everybody's up to speed and on the same page as what the people in the office are doing. So I think that's something you should look into. Ask counsel if you have to, for the days off that you need, and monies to go out there and spend 2 days in training. And if something's wrong with being learned, and you're over there giggling, I'm not quite sure. You know, this whole thing has the characteristics of last council. And I'm embarrassed sometimes. I sit there and watch the video. I say I'm embarrassed to even sit here and be a part of this. Should be professionals and act accordingly. So, come on.
The office is doing one heck of a good job with what they had to work with. No computers.
Then you can go ahead and talk. But
And to shut an office down for 2 days, I don't know if that's possible. So we'll see.
So, anyway.
Any questions for me? Or anything?
Yeah, I wanna know what's gonna happen if somebody goes in that bathroom and slips and falls, and they find out we have to be ADA approved.
Same thing that would happen if it wasn't changed at all.
I just have one question for you, Dan. You missed something here, boot camp 219 and 20?
Oh, yeah, the boot camp for the other members of council that want to go that's in Macungie would be on the 19th and 20th. I just wanted to remind you.
Okay, so that's a solid thing.
Yeah, that's a reminder. Yeah, thanks for pointing that out.
Well, I needed to ask because I'm getting the day off to go to that Friday, so I want to make sure we're still good with it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's why I put it on there. I just want to read over top of it. Any other questions? We have one resolution. Dave?
Yes, that I'm aware of.
And that's the fees from Barry Isaac
Correct.
for engineering,
For like your
building.
home occupancy inspections and everything like that.
You have a resolution on it?
No, I do not.
All right. Barring a resolution on it, I have a motion to pass the price list, the fee list for building codes and construction of new houses.
Electric, bill, all that.
Yeah.
I'll make the motion.
Have a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion on the fees? All in favor of the resolution to set the fees for the Borough of West Easton, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Mr. No ordinances, Dave?
No.
Councilman Roundtable, anybody have anything that's on their mind?
Round table?
Yeah.
Oh, I got a lot.
Go ahead.
So we're gonna talk about the building right now. And there's a lot of things that's happening. Our roof is leaking on the overhang. So they're talking about getting a price for a roof, and that's important. But we also need a guardrail on the end of our parking lot. One day, we're gonna have somebody that's retired like me and don't realize that once you go over the curb, you're going down a 4-foot ditch. That has to be put in, that's a hazard. All right? And after we're done with that, we have 2 heaters that are outdated from Lennox. You have to both online to get the parts. There's a problem with them that if you get a heat exchanger, if it's that bad, it might get fumes off. So we have identical heaters. One's working fine, the other one is, we're trying to gather parts on the internet. But it's not from the supplier, it's somebody that bought the parts, has them, and they sell them. We don't know if they're any good, but you still gotta pay for them. Now, K&K Mechanical said, Lennox will give us a discount on the furnace. That's another problem. Do we want to fix it, patch it up, hope it's going to stay around for a while, or replace the one that's failing, in case the other one goes out, we have a backup for that one. That's one problem. The other problem we're having right now is we know the foundation's sinking, and we know that T&M gave us a price on it. That has to be taken care of. Can't put it off any longer, can't go another year, all right, it has to be handled. And I think that should be done sooner than later, because there has to be some exploratory about the drain lines from the roof. They might be, on that one corner might be broke, or sinking down, I don't know. And about that, I guess we talked about a generator, but I think our plate's full just repairing the building what we got. We haven't even talked about the overgrown trees, that our grass section out there is mold, green mold growing around it. The plants are all so overgrown because they haven't been trimmed back in all these years. Our fire extinguishers, 2011 the last time we inspected them. So we don't even know if they work. So we look at everything and maybe today we could all hands up and raise up and say, let's fix this stuff, so I don't get in trouble again. That's my problem. I fix things, that's what I did my whole life. Fix things, I do it right away. I don't believe in waiting until the room next month. So other than that, that's what I have to say.
Well,
Yeah,
let's start backwards. Generator, we're gonna have 2 more estimates coming in, probably by the end of this week. So we have one estimate.
listen, I won't approve it until we fix the
Right,
problem.
I understand,
I'm
but
sorry.
at least we'll have 2 more estimates, because we started it, then we asked for estimates, so we'll have 2 estimates coming in. Whether we act on them right away, or later, that'll be up to council. So, you wanna take one item at a time. You wanna, guardrails is one item. I think that's very important.
The guardrails is important, the outside foundation is important, and the furnace is important.
We have a part that came in for the furnace, we'll try that. If it doesn't work, then we'll have to decide whether Lennox will give us another furnace at a discount.
He said, you can find out, that's, the man who wrote the report up, he says, when he starts his furnace up because it's so messed up, it'll start 3 times and shut down. And that's just what happens, it shuts down, we put a reset switch, it'll run again for 3 more times, an hour later, 2 hours later, it shuts down. So,
That's the furnace in this room. It's working today, I'll tell you that.
let's hope we don't catch on fire, because we don't have our fire signals anymore.
We gotta get through another 2 months, right, Hank? Another 2 months where we don't need the furnace?
Hey, like I said, I got the best guy going from out from Cookstown. And he said, you fix it, go ahead, he'll fix it. He told me it's gonna take 2.5 hours to place all the parts when you get the parts. And that's what you're gonna do it.
Well, let's say with the building, do you want?
And you gotta order the parts.
With our building, do you want, as far as the structural damage over in this one corner, do you want our new engineers to look at it?
Oh, yes, yes.
So I have a motion for our engineers to.
I don't want to see them.
The building in the corner?
Yeah.
Yeah.
On this one,
Right,
that corner.
I'll make a motion to have our engineers look at
Have a second?
I'll second.
Any more discussion on the structural damage of the one corner of our building? Crack. All in favor of the engineers to check that out, give us an idea how much it would cost? Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, and the guardrail. I think when the building was built, that was a suggestion made back in 1990, but never happened, got by the wayside. So, maybe we get in contact with,
There's Collins down in Coatesville that puts up railing. He might have some used stuff instead of new stuff that they took off. It's only a straight run, you know. But that's basically where you want to go, but you don't want to go with nothing wood because maintenance, you know. But I definitely put it up because I know myself, you think you got your truck in reverse and all of a sudden you got to drive and you hit the gas if you're going. That little 6-inch curve is not going to stop you from going over. But that's it, there's no other blocking it. And we haven't talked about the parking lot. Parking lot's cracked, it's got to be patched and sealed this year. And that's another aspect of it. I can go on, but I won't.
I think we gotta set priorities. I mean, you can't do everything at once.
Yeah, but if you don't, listen, the point of it is, if you don't take care of stuff, if you lose your blacktop, you're gonna cost you thousands and thousands of dollars to replace it. Just like we have to talk about our streets, we have to tar all the cracks. If you don't tar those cracks, all the money and the time that this borough spent in the last 12 years, no wood chip in our roads, we're gonna lose if we get a bad winter. This winter was an easy winter. Frost didn't go down 2 feet, 3 feet, went down inches. But if it goes down, when the rain goes down, you'll crack this road up, you're gonna be repairing roads. And you wanna haul somebody in, you want 18 cents a foot, linear foot to fill the crack. You're gonna have to turn around, rent a car buggy, and hire 2 people part-time to fill it to save money. And isolate each street, but that you're gonna have to do it this year. You know?
Around October of last year, a motion was made and passed to patch the roads and seal them. So I don't know if that motion can still carry over to this year.
Wouldn't necessarily expire, if that's your question.
Okay.
You think about, in the last 10 years, every year we blow $30,000, Jerry? That's $300,000 we put in our roads.
Plus, we did the ceiling 2 years ago, no cracks.
No, I mean, we're at a point, we just can't put stuff off anymore. If we did it in the last 5 years, nothing was done to our roads. We kept the money, nothing was done other than little odds and ends stuff.
First thing, do I have a motion to look into the guardrail situation and get a price and get it done if it's reasonable?
What you need is a bumper guardrail. You need a high one. Put a high one in, it'll be spaced apart and get it.
Yeah, that's what it would be called, yeah.
They can fasten it to the wall and come up with
It's a bumper.
just a 16, yeah, it's only a 16-inch
Yeah,
bumper.
exactly.
But it's something, you know,
You wanna look in, you're gonna look into it. You're gonna give us prices.
yeah, as long as you give me permission, I'll look into it.
I'll make the motion for you.
Do I have a second?
I'll second. Make sure it's an
Any more discussion on the guardrails?
It's an ADA.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. The building we took care of, guardrail. What do you want to do about the furnace? So you want to try the igniter that we got?
If everybody got paid, for example, he broke it down and told you what it cost for the firebox was $300. And then you add all the other parts, it could be $500, $600, maybe $700. And then he gets 2.5 hours to do it. He's getting, let's see, what's he getting for 85 an hour? Right?
Can we get a deal with Lennox in the condition it is now to replace the water
Yeah.
furnace? And we're not talking about just the inside, we're talking about the whole
If
furnace.
you want to try to patch what you got, you're gonna lay out $700, $800, or you find out that Lennox is gonna give you a furnace for $2,000, and you're gonna pay for the installation, it would pay you to put the new furnace in and playing around with this thing. Because if the other one goes out, you're in the same boat. It's just, you know.
What's your motion then?
Huh?
What's your motion to have the?
My motion is to get a price off the furnace, if it's affordable, it's under, I think it should be under 4,000, 3,000, with the furnace and installation, somewhere around there. That's what I'm saying, that you should go for.
Quote only.
Yeah, get a
Quote
quote,
only.
get a quote on
I'll make the motion.
it, you know.
Quote to replace the furnace.
And a second? One second.
Yeah.
Any more discussion on the furnace? We have one part out there that it's the igniter, and we put that in, it doesn't work, we'll go ahead with it. All in favor?
You gotta call him back to do
Those
it.
in favor?
What are we voting on now?
To replace, get a quote for the furnace, and we have an igniter that came in, express mail.
That'd be the second thing. Let's do the motion and vote on the quote thing.
The motion is to replace the insides of this furnace with Lennox if they give us a good deal and just a quote, but to try the igniter first, and if that doesn't work, then we go ahead with the quote.
Nope. You mean go ahead and buy it?
No, the
We
quote.
already bought it.
Oh,
The quote, I said.
well, it doesn't cost anything to get a quote.
No, it doesn't. I said, we'll try it, we have a part that came in the mail
You wanna try fixing the furnace.
with that one part. If that doesn't work, we're gonna get a quote.
All right.
That's the motion.
You got a Band-Aid?
That's-
Now I understand.
You got a Band-Aid?
All in favor?
I still
Oh, we
don't,
need a
I
second.
still don't understand. Dave,
Are you
tell us what
confused?
we're voting on.
Making a motion to first try to repair the furnace with the part that came in, and if that doesn't work, to go and get a quote for the new, to get a replacement for the furnace through Lennox.
Thanks for that. Okay, now I understand.
You want a second?
No, he's seconded.
Oh.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Angry with the tonight, man.
What was that? What was it, was that all the items that you had there tonight?
And the fire extinguishers, I can call,
Fire
I
extinguishers.
can call Kistler O'Brien and schedule an appointment, they can come out and inspect.
I don't think we have a motion for that. While you're on the thing about fire, we're gonna look into marking our fire hydrants too, in case we have another bad storm, so we know where they're at, make it easier.
No.
I think we should check with the fire chief to do that.
All right, well, if we can talk to him about it then.
Yeah.
We still in the round table?
Yes.
Okay. I want to let everybody know that today I put in a right to know request from the borough to receive any surveillance tapes regarding those missing computers. If I get them, I plan on putting those recordings on my website. Let me tell you, why I'm doing this is because you guys are all going to have to make a decision about what we want to do about the computers that left the building. If there's no legal action, it looks like you'll have to give me the recordings, because this is in a courthouse, so you really can't be exempt. And when Kelly posted or had released a tape on an incident in the hallways, that pretty much blew out an argument of you're protecting your security, placement cameras and stuff. So anyway, I'm letting you know I'm putting a right to know request. If there's no legal action being taken by the council regarding those computers, I think I'm going to get those tapes. So just letting you guys know where that's headed.
It'll be taken care of by the right to know bill. Even if Joe doesn't know exactly how to do it, she'll go to the assistant. It'll get taken care of.
Doesn't matter. I'm just letting you know that I put in the right to know request and where it's headed and why and where it's headed. Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, I think Joe plans to do that right now. To know request.
That's much, yes.
So noted.
And on that note, I'm going to make a motion authorizing the solicitor to forward correspondence and to take all necessary steps to determine the costs involved and the harm to the borough and to recoup those funds from the responsible parties that took those computers. So there's a motion. You guys can second it and discuss it, or just let it die.
That's your motion?
That is my motion.
Do I have a second?
I think we're still doing executive session with this.
You get the motion, I didn't get it.
Authorizing the solicitor to forward correspondence and take all necessary steps to determine the costs involved and the harm to the borough, and to recoup these funds from any responsible parties.
What funds are you talking about?
Well, we've had costs incurred by having another IT guy come in. We had to buy a router. All this, there's costs that were involved. We had to pay another IT guy to come in and straighten out the computers. We had to buy a new router. We had to access passwords using an IT guy. So there's costs involved. And the motion is for the solicitor to find out what those costs are total and to try to get them back.
What are you trying to get back?
The costs incurred. It's a very simple motion. To determine the costs involved and the harm to the borough and to recoup the funds from any responsible parties.
Let me say this before we go any further. Do I have a second? Then we can go into discussion.
I'll second it.
Now discussion. And one thing I want to say is, I'm very concerned that we were billed for 3 computers and we only have 2. And it was paid for.
And that's part of the problem. We really don't know what we have in there anymore. We don't know what files.
We got partial cooperation to go into one of the computers to see if we still have AMS, is that right, Dave?
Yes.
And the other computer was nothing on it. The 2 computers that are in the office are working, but where's the third one? That's what I just got.
Third PC.
The third PC. And he was cooperative, and maybe a call can be made to this computer fella to find out. He took payment for 3 PCs and we have 2.
And there was also a question about, did he do the upgrade of the server, right?
That was paid for also.
Yeah.
When was that paid, Dave? Like in July, August?
Actually, the bill came in January. He wanted half up front.
January of 2015.
15, correct. He wanted half up front and the second half upon completion. For whatever reason, the first check never got to him, and I think we paid him April or May for the whole job last year. I'm not 100% of the timing, but I think it was April or May when he received the full payment.
We have a motion and a second. Take a voice vote. There.
Mr. DePaul,
Yes?
Mr. Nixon,
Yes.
Henry Donnelly,
Yes.
Mr. Lewis,
Yes.
Mr. Dees.
Yes.
Anything else?
That's it. Just so you know, because the solicitor is involved now, I expect the right to know if we deny this, so it's a problem.
So you're withdrawing your right to know, or you want to
You
deny
want to
it?
hold it?
Or you want to hang on to it for now? And
I'll hold on to it and get an official answer, but I'll
Okay.
just let you know, it's probably as a result of me.
Anybody else?
And if I can, just so we, in the instant, just to be clear as to what Mr. Dees' requests are in his motion, is when he made the right to know request, he made it as a private citizen. I say this for the benefit of counsel. He, just like any other right, just like anybody else could. I think what he was doing is he was indicating he's made that request as a private individual. He understands under the circumstances more likely than not it's going to be denied. And then when he made the motion, he did it in his position as a member of Borough Council. Is that correct, Mr. Mayor? Thank you.
You want to go into committee reports? Finance committee have anything to report?
No.
Property did a good job on the potholes. Anything else? And may I say one more thing before I go any further? Anybody want to have a committee meeting? You can state it now. The Finance committee, you have anything that you want to meet about?
Definitely finance commission.
Want to meet about anything? Set a date for anything?
You got anything? Ron, you got anything? Dan, you got anything?
I would be willing to have a meeting just to go over the treasurer's report and a couple issues. It'll be quick, and you can set it anytime.
You should set up a highway meeting.
We're gonna set up a finance meeting.
At Chubb's.
Carl, do you have anything for finance? You're gonna be coming to it?
Oh, I can come to the meeting, I don't have anything.
Lovely, because we're gonna be talking about your report.
You can find out who was the last person to use the box, or who actually opened the account to get a box. So what, 2 days, give you 2 days to do that?
Tomorrow I can do it.
We'll see if I'll give you the information or you're going to require a letter. Chances are they'll require a letter or a letter.
I mean, it doesn't, wanna do it Friday?
Okay.
Ron, you do Friday?
I'll try. I don't know what my schedule is this week, but I'll try to be available.
Do you have any time in mind?
10-ish?
Okay.
Friday, 10 o'clock in the morning?
That's fine as far as I.
Mayor? Mayor? You come to that meeting?
What time?
10 o'clock on Friday? Sure. Okay, no problem.
Property committee,
Finance.
did a good job on the potholes. Anything else, Henry? Public safety. I can also have a meeting on Friday at, let's say, 12 o'clock.
For personnel, public safety and personnel.
Yeah.
It's Friday the 19th? I'm sorry, the 12th.
Yeah.
Let me think, I think that was true.
You have a trip? Maybe Thursday?
No, boot camp is it.
Oh, the boot camp is the 19th and 20th, so we're not scheduling anything for that. Legal committee, now, the reason I have quality of life on there, that was that ordinance, Henry Manager.
Yeah.
I think you reworked that,
Try to rework it.
or looked at it, made suggestions, may I say?
You may.
So we can look at that, and you have to set a time for that if you want to meet.
Yeah, how about 11, right before,
Yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you.
11 o'clock and 12.
Okay. Utilities,
I have nothing.
recreation.
Do you want to hear my report on?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, just to let you know, well, you heard about the computers. The website, I left it open, anybody can visit it. It's a work in progress, it's always gonna be building and added to. But somebody on council, I handed out forms to fill out for information to put on the website so that people can contact you in the borough. I didn't get back some from, I got Mr. Lewis's, Hank, I didn't get yours, Ron, I didn't get
Yeah, I
yours.
had it filled out last week, but I didn't give it.
Okay. Other than that, I think it looks pretty good. So it's available for the residents to visit, and hopefully, given time, it'll become a good tool. I posted the permit fees from Easton onto it. They're all up there, like, just click it and it opens up a PDF and you can read what the fees are.
I'm glad you brought that up, because how long will it take you to get the sewer bills out, or get ready to go out?
Probably, I should be able to run on my Wednesday, Thursday at the latest.
And mailed out by Friday?
Yes.
We should come up with a newsletter, we'll go over it, even during the day, during the week this week.
Yeah, here's really
Because there's,
throw it
even
up.
if it's not a,
Yeah, we
Well,
can
maybe-
fancy looking,
but
good
important things
information.
that we have to do.
Yeah, we'll do that Thursday,
All right.
or Friday.
Matt, would you give the people in attendance the website?
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought everybody knew. It's got thousands and thousands of people visiting it every day. It's westeastonborough.com.
Borough spelled out or B-O-R-O?
BOROUGH. westeastonborough.com. Oh, and then the last thing is the migration from my server to the borough server that I purchased, the HostGator account. That migration of the website is taking place right now. It's probably done. So rather than sitting on my server where I keep my websites, the borough website is now sitting on the borough server.
You'll go over that with the office?
Yeah, if we get a borough manager, I'll go over all that stuff because I have to give passwords and access and all that stuff. And that's it.
This is separate from yours?
Yes, completely separate. The borough will end up with complete control, whether it's the manager, probably the borough manager, I think, is gonna be handling whatever you guys, whatever the council, whatever the mayor wants to put on a mayor's report, that can all go up to the website.
Utilities, nothing. Recreation, not this time. Grants, I can make a statement on the grants. I think at the end of this month or the beginning of March, the county might release applications for CDBG grants. So we'll wait to see if that happens. Unfinished business?
Yes.
We have,
Oh, sorry.
go ahead.
I thought you were
No,
asking.
go ahead. Laura, you go first.
A while back, Mr. Lewis brought up payment of council, whether it be monthly or quarterly. We got a solicitor's opinion on that too, that pay can't be held, correct, for council people?
They can't be withheld.
Withheld, yes. Pay can't be withheld. And I know there's a policy out there or something that previous council people were having to pay withheld.
Right.
Correct?
Yeah.
That policy.
From what I understand, yes.
Yeah, I think that policy needs to be changed first off. If Mr. Lewis wants to make a motion now you can make it for monthly or quarterly.
Well, I believe since we went through the first month and haven't gotten paid, then by default, it's quarterly.
No, we should probably make a motion to ensure it's always gonna be quarterly for, I guess, us.
Is that a motion, Mr. Lewis?
Are you making a motion?
No, I was asking if you wanted to make the motion.
Anybody can, I'll second it, or I'll make it.
All right, I'll second for quarterly
We have
payment.
a motion and a second for quarterly payments to council members, and it's also written in the Borough Code, the Parish Code, that it must be done monthly or quarterly, and I think quarterly is fine.
So,
Any more discussion? All in favor?
I'll make a motion.
Aye.
aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. We discussed the borough manager, and we had an interim borough manager. We sent a letter to Mr. Rossi, who is qualified, I believe, because of his knowledge of zoning and codes, to come in here, and he sent a letter back saying that he would be interested, and I believe everyone has a copy of that note from Mr. Rossi. Now you can discuss what is on this letter. You could make a motion to accept it. You want to make a condition on how long. You disagree with the pay rate or the hours. You want to go into executive session?
Yeah, and pay is something that should be in executive session.
But it will become a right to know request. Everybody's pay rate is a right to know request. That's
I understand that, but we're gonna.
But not, maybe not now.
Yeah. Well,
Listen, my feeling about this whole thing is, in the last month, we spent a lot of time in this office, all of us council members. And all of a sudden, it seems like we're here more than Kelly Rose is here. And the whole idea is we're supposed to have a borough manager, secretary, and treasurer.
Now, manager's not required.
We have too many council members that are trying to take charge or trying to do stuff. I'm guilty of it. The only one that doesn't is Mr. Nixon. He comes by and picks his papers up and goes home. I want the same privilege. Somebody called me up at 1:30 in the morning, asked me if we should plow snow. And I said, am I driving a truck or what? No, we need a temporary borough manager to manage his borough. So us guys can only come here during the meeting. There's going to be a council member here. It's either the mayor or the president of council should be in that office. Us guys come by, pick up our mail, that's it. We're not here to give all kinds of suggestions or input. That's where we got in trouble before.
well, then tell them to quit calling me about computers.
Well, if people don't understand it, then get a guy on the line and find it. I mean, we have to go what we said, and I agree with this. I agree with Mr. Lewis. We're council, we should vote on it, on the meeting, resolve the problems here, give Pete direction, or whoever else is going to be the borough manager, and move on. I have a life, and all you guys have a life. A life is not here acting as the borough manager for each one of those council members.
Quite frankly, I'm glad you said that.
No, so let's get it resolved. 25, excuse me, whatever he wants is cheap.
Jeez.
It's cheap. It's cheap for what we're going through. We spent how much money on legal fees because we didn't get all the information passed on to us? How much trouble with forms that are not being filled out that we don't know which ones to fill out? We can go on with all the problems we got. And God forsakes, next election, if we're going to choose some council members to get out of office, we got to have a borough manager here, and a secretary, and that to keep this place running until the new officers take over.
Well,
Let's get over with it. and let's wait for it.
If you go into executive session,
yeah.
we come out of the executive session, and then we make a decision, not in the executive session, when we come out of it.
Yeah. Peter, you want to answer a question?
Yeah, I mean, you didn't get the letter that was sent to me, so that's only a direct response to maybe 10% of the letter.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean,
No.
the hours, you have down no more than 30. Do you think you need 30 the entire time or just to get started? I like to
I'm
get,
giving, I talked to Dan about this just a few hours ago. I don't want to work more than 30. I'm not looking for a full-time job. I'm retired. But the flexibility, you're not going to find anybody better than me. If you, after 1 week, you tell me there's 10 hours of work in there, I'll be here 10 hours. In other words, I'm not looking for a commitment that you're going to give me 30 hours a week or 25 hours a week. Tell you the truth, I don't want to be a manager for 5 years. Last time it took you over 5 years, but you still haven't found a manager. I'm not looking to hang around 5 years till you find another one. And I've said this before, one of my priorities is to find you a more permanent manager. Or secretary, whatever the council decides they need, okay? You got a mountain of work in there right now. You need help. Now, everyone you know that I've been here almost every day trying to help every little way I could. But you're still gonna have to get something going. If you find a manager next month, I'm out of here. I think in the beginning, I'm gonna need some time. And as soon as I can taper that time off, I will be the first one to tell you.
because things should start straightening out.
That's exactly right. So, I mean, if you're looking at, when you go in there and you look at pay and you look at your budget and everything else, don't look at it as 52 weeks at that pay. This whole thing, I want it to diminish. I want to be out of it. But I'm willing to, right now I have time, I can come in and help. But I just can't keep doing it the way I've been doing it.
Well, let me ask you this, Dan, should we put ourselves on a timeline here? Because
Well, I have a question in regards to what you just said.
Because if we, hold on 1 second, if we don't put ourselves under the gun to find somebody, then we might think he's gonna be around for 2 years.
No, I think interim answers that question.
It doesn't specify how long.
Well, that's one thing we really have to set a date on, I think.
So my question is, and this goes to the personnel committee, how far along are you in the hiring process? Do you have
Not very far along at all.
specific duties for this guy to do?
Not very far along at all.
Yeah, there's an ordinance. There has been.
Absolutely, there's wordage of what this guy, what you have to put in this job description, and the duties of this person.
So,
It's out there to do, I'm just asking, what have you
well,
done?
I'm telling you, we're not very far along at all. I mean, you want an answer, I told you.
Okay, so
Okay.
what's it gonna
I'm-
take?
I'm not.
What's it gonna take to help you
I'm
do
not
your
here for
job?
Personnel committee.
Who's the personnel committee?
I am.
And how you make it out with this?
We went in and found the ordinance. We have to advertise it on that, what was that name of that website to start with? Simplyhire.com. Yeah. And in the meantime, Pete can, because I think he's qualified as far
Yes,
as.
we understand he can, I just wanna know how far along, and what the time frame is of you getting this person in here.
It's not me, it's gonna be the
It's a
council.
personnel committee, and then
Personnel
it comes to
committee.
us to vote on.
And the other members to write up an article. to
And
put
how
in.
far along are you? Did you write something up? Did you get the first sentence out?
Yeah, very good.
What does it say?
It says, wanted. So, we can do that,
Laughing
and,
matter. Is it really
we-
laughing
we-
matter?
You're getting sidetracked.
Wait a minute, everybody gets sidetracked. You can let Hank talk for 15 minutes. You want to get sidetracked and he goes out on a rant.
You can keep yelling.
Now I can't do
It
it?
hurt my
You
ears.
keep yelling, but it's not.
Now all of a sudden I can't do it. I have something to say, you don't want to hear it.
You're done, let me know.
Well, thank you very much. Then I sit there and I endure everybody just yap, 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 yapping.
This,
I'm done.
Thank you.
That's what you should
from my
do.
position,
in the month of January, we had a lot of things.
Yeah.
We had a blizzard, we had trucks break down, and that's subject's coming up next.
Dan,
All we're doing is putting a Band-Aid
all I'm
on
gonna
the
say
situation.
is, if this is your number one priority, then it should be assholes and elbows. Because this is what I'm hearing. You gotta get somebody in here, right, Hank? I heard you say that over there.
He couldn't hear you.
Yeah, we gotta get somebody in there to say.
And
Yeah, we agree on that.
Yeah.
I was just curious about the hours he was putting in.
Yeah, I mean,
It always gets carried into some side stream somehow.
once we get straightened out, you wanna put a job application out for a borough manager, do it. But until we get a lot of stuff to do, he's our best bet.
I'm not arguing with you.
And there's-
I make a motion that we should hire Steve. That's what I'm saying. Hire him. We'll talk about his salary in the meeting. That's it. Thank you.
He doesn't want a permanent. He doesn't want a permanent.
We could set a limit?
I'm asking if we should put to force us, along Mr. Lewis's lines, to force us to get
Oh, yeah.
started
We
on
have
something.
we have to, and when do we want to start? Monday? I think a fresh start on Monday. I have things, like this, workman's compensation. I have this, generator guy coming in. I think Monday would be a fine start. And you gotta remember, I'm not doing office work. I just wanna make that clear. I'm not acting as a borough, I'm just.
Well, you won't be once he's in. He's
No,
gonna take you
no,
out
I
of the
know what I'm
office.
saying. But we had a lot of things happen in January.
Oh, I know.
Confusion, snowstorms, trucks that broke down, computers that are missing.
All right, somebody made a motion? You did. You made a motion to hire interim manager. Interim manager.
Yeah.
I'll
So
second
many.
the motion.
Any discussion?
What are we gonna pay him?
Yes.
What are we gonna pay him?
Can I help perhaps?
Absolutely.
Mr. Nolan, is your motion that you're suggesting is your motion to hire Mr. Rossi in accordance with his email, based on the terms and conditions set forth in his email dated February 8, 2016?
It doesn't specify the amount of time it should be at council's,
I'll accept the position of the ready action.
as length of time that he's here, it
Yeah,
should be a discretion of council.
yeah.
Well, if I can clarify that one.
And it's temporary.
Right.
It's a part-time job, so.
Okay, pardon me, just so we're all clear on this. Anybody who's hired in a position like Mr. Rossi, or for that matter, me or your engineer, serves at the pleasure of council. So at any point in time, you can say, if you so choose to hire Mr. Rossi or me or the engineer, say, you don't work for me anymore. So you can do that at any point in time. But I think what Mr. Nodal, and you tell me, I think what your motion is to hire Mr. Rossi's interim manager based on the conditions he has in this email.
And the conditions he had written down.
So that's what I think his motion is.
Okay, yes, and I assumed the same thing, it wasn't said. Yes, I'll second that.
So we have a motion and a second, and discussion. Part of that motion, would he start on the 15th of this month, which would be next Monday?
No, because
It's
we're
a
off because of a holiday.
All right. I forgot the holiday. It's even marked here.
I thought you were going to Florida next week. I guess you rounded to the 15th.
The 16th?
The 16th. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. That takes care of that. Any more unfinished business? New business. I made a couple notations that I want to bring up, and it didn't get on the list. We had an IT tech guy that came in, and he was very, very helpful. What's Gino's last name? I forget.
Fareed.
Right. And the rate of pay and the knowledge that he has, I think we should use him in any case that has to do with our computer system. Set that aside, we still might need a company like this fellow that was supposed to come in tonight, or another company like that, to give us some advice. But for emergencies that we need to hook up this computer that we finally got into, it has to be moved to the inner office, and he has to order a switch so we can switch from one computer to another. Right now it's in the back office, which it should be in the front office. So I would like to have a motion to use Gino in cases like that. Do I have a motion to do that?
I'll make a motion.
Of second, to hire Gino on a basis of need.
I've got to abstain from the vote because I've been in a business relationship
Oh,
with
you
him
don't?
from time to time.
Excuse me, if you are abstaining, you need to write it on a piece of paper and give it to whoever's taking notes.
And right now,
Yes,
that's all right now.
Yes, yes. It's not fun, you're gonna learn this when you get down there. This stuff that has to be done.
And we're all right, I abstain and sign it.
I abstain because of the reason.
So you'll learn this on the next Friday.
They think this is a joke.
Don't say I think it's a joke. I've fought hardest for this borough than you have. So don't ever say I think it's a joke. But I can find some humor in times of tense. Okay? So if you want to call me out on every little thing and procedure and rules of Robert and waste our time doing 17th century speaking, when I'm going to talk to you back and forth like this, then do it, okay? But don't say this is a joke to me.
Sounds like it is, that's all I said.
So we have a motion, and do I have a second to hire
I made the motion, you got a second.
I'll second. Any discussion?
What is the motion?
To hire on a on-need basis for our computer systems when we have problems getting in. He knows the ins and outs of installing and servicing computers as on call. Not a permanent, not a part-time, on-call basis. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
He abstains.
No.
3 yeses, 3 ayes, 1 nay. If it wasn't for Gino, and I want to make this statement right now, and this is not a joke. If it wasn't for Gino, we wouldn't be where we are right now with the computer system that we have. We would still be in the dark ages. And I don't even know this young fellow.
And I should point out that he's got background checks, fingerprints, FBI. He actually works for the school district, so he's got more background checks than most people.
Yeah. Fingerprint too.
One more service that we had during our dark days of 2 trucks breaking down. We had an older truck, the whole rear end of this truck and all the gears went out in it. And I'm telling you, being in the business, if that truck would have been towed out of here and taken to a shop, you're looking at $5,000 to fix what was wrong with that truck.
Easy.
Easy. And we have a fellow, his name is Jeff Hancock. He came in, we got the truck inside the bay, he pulled it apart, we ordered parts from Collis, rebuilt parts, and he fixed it in 3 days for less than $2,000 total, parts and labor. I like to hire him on call basis as a mechanic that we would need in emergencies. Do I have a motion to hire on need basis?
I'd make a motion to that effect, but asking the solicitor, then we'd have to get him on like our insurance, everything else, right? Because he's gonna be working in our property, like our facility.
Well, if you hired him, you wouldn't be hiring him as an employee, you'd be hiring him as an independent contractor.
Oh, so then that would matter.
But then, as a requirement of an independent contractor, you could certainly, it should be part of the motion, but doesn't necessarily have to be, it should be, that he'd have to get his own insurance and provide proof that he has the ability to provide the safety requirements that we require him to do.
Under those conditions, do I have a second?
I'll give you the second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? Ayes have it. Any other new business? Dave, we had a fellow come in from PennDOT, is that correct?
Yes.
To give us instructions on filling out forms, and he also informed us of the trestle on Spring Street.
Okay, yeah, I know he was in and helped Joan as far as completing the liquid fuel audit and that stuff, but I don't know what he, other than that.
He indicated, I thought you were listening in on that conversation, that we might be able to get someone to come in and inspect that trestle on Spring Street
Yeah.
at no charge.
I-
So that's just something that's information that we might be able to use.
Who can do this now? Who?
LCAP.
It's a local assistance program through Harrisburg,
Oh.
PennDOT.
I think,
I actually talked to him. I was here too during the liquid fuels. This is a program, state has it. They offer volunteer engineers throughout the state. Barry Isaac is on that list actually, but they won't send him because he's our engineer. But they get about 300 requests is the max that they'll take. So it's early in the year, the sooner we get this little letter in. You have to kind of write the letter to show that you need it. You know, we have a problem on our hands, we want somebody to look at it. An engineer, a random engineer will be brought here. They will not sit here and say it can only support 2 tons and things like that. But they will do a visual of the thing and give you a report if they feel it's in critical or poor shape or what it is. And that's all you're going to get is a report from them. No estimates or anything. But what's nice about it is, this is a professional engineer through LTAP. They're going to have a report in hand. With that report, and he had mentioned even the casino grant money, if you tie it in with the rails to trail, it gives you a little bit more urgency to get a grant. Because the state already looked at it and kind of gave it a grade. Now, the bridge has to be over a roadway, not a river. That qualifies. It's a transportation issue. And I do know the last casino grants, or LTAP, just had a grant ended last month. As long as it has to do with transportation or rails to trail. So if you get these people to come in and say that's a bad bridge, and the next round of grants that LTAP has, it might put you to the head of the line. So all it is like a 1 paragraph. You have to give a short statement telling them why you want them. Only about 300 requests get done a year. But he said, it's early, get it in. Because if they run out of, they fulfill the request by March, that's it. That's it for the year. So if you want, I could start working maybe a little bit. Joan was there when he explained everything. She has the form, and we'll draft something up, get it to council, or if you want to just designate Dan. We want to get it in as soon as possible.
Yeah, that request should be sent as soon as possible.
Okay.
So Wednesday we'll look into that.
Okay.
Any other new business?
Well, we have to write him a letter.
Yeah.
I think we should let that Pete to do when he gets on board. Because you got enough to research the low-income people in this town.
No, we're already classified as low income through the county.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, I'd rather have Pete write the letter.
Yeah. Any other new business? Before we go into the executive session, I know some people might have a question. Was answered, I hope? Oh, good, thank you. We can go into executive session now?
Well, you said that you have like all this kind of data entry that needs to be done in your computer.
Right.
If I volunteered to help you, on a volunteer basis, a couple hours a week, I'm highly qualified, I've done that all my life, I'm retired from, I was administrative assistant in the admissions office at Lafayette College. I'm now retired, and I would certainly volunteer my time to help you.
I think we're paying Dallas to transfer everything.
Well, Dallas has everything things are gonna need to be updated. Gladly,
If it's data entry,
yeah, I'll gladly see
I
what we
take
can,
120 words a minute.
I'll gladly see what we can do. I mean, I'll see where we're at. I mean, with what I need to enter into the financial software stuff, it's more, one full day of me doing it will probably have it all entered.
Okay. But I'm
You're volunteering, you're volunteering to do that?
Yes.
You're also volunteering to be on activities committee?
We need people on committees, we do.
You
can always come to any committee.
That's gonna be in the newsletter.
Sure. You can come.
Anybody out there that's windows?
What?
The subcommittees,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, activities committee. What other committee? We all, it's like.
Neighborhood watch committee.
Yeah, watch. That's the spring issue. Okay, I think we'll go into the executive session now. Thank you. We're back at our regular meeting
Better walk Gene up to his Jeep.
of January the 8th. And we have a motion to,
The motion would be to authorize the solicitor to continue to move forward with a condemnation action filed regarding Ridge Street.
on Ridge Street, yes.
I'll make that motion.
That was second.
Second.
Any more discussion on that piece of legislation?
And before we vote, Mr. Nottlehan can't vote because he has a financial interest and he's abstaining, right?
Yeah.
And you're abstaining, right?
I abstain, yes.
Did you write it down, Henry?
Yeah, write it down, Dave, I'll sign my name to it.
All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, and one abstention.
And then before we adjourn, the minute should say that we went into executive session to discuss, among other things, litigation with regard to condemnation, as well as litigation regarding potential other individuals.
So noted.
We do it better.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I think the motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
I'm up at.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
All in favor?
9:42.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
I got it.